Hey, Lava.
Oh, let me put it out right there.
Oh, you're good, man.
I think I got it. Yeah.
All right. What's up, Lava?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. I'm happy that you're doing good.
Oh yeah, it's fire.
It's good that we're both doing good on this beautiful, good
Beautiful day.
Saturday.
Yes.
It's quite rainy outside, but I feel like it's fresh and sunny in our minds.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Rain, no rain. It's beautiful if you want to look at it that way, right?
Exactly. So I was just listening to a podcast
Mhm.
with Ryan Holiday and Kevin Kelly, which are two people I really like.
Yeah.
They publish cool stuff. They write cool stuff on the internet
Mhm.
and share it with people. And they were talking about this weird dichotomy that exists when you're doing something unique,
Mhm.
which is when you're creating something that's unique and kind of weird and not many people believe in it, there's a sign where, oh yeah, this is something that is probably really good because there's not a
Yeah.
lot of competition.
Yeah.
Uh, it's something that is so uniquely you and authentically
Mhm.
you that no one else can replicate it.
Recreate it. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, potential and fruit there,
Mhm.
right? But at the same time, on the other end of the spectrum is, oh yeah, there's no one here. It might just be a really bad fucking idea. For
Oof.
for, for example, for example, uh, you know, it's really cool that if you're someone who writes operas
Yeah.
that are about, drugs and war and violence, and you write, 3-hour long operas,
Mhm.
that's really authentic and unique and creative because
Mhm.
there's no one else doing that.
Ah.
But at the same time, there's also like no one else listening to fucking operas.
Operas.
So it might not be the best move if you want to, make a business or make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a weird dichotomy where, okay, if you want to succeed at something
Mhm.
and have fun doing it and make money from it, you should do something that's very uniquely you and creative, and no one else can replicate it.
But at the same time.
But at the same time, that could also be a recipe for failure.
Yeah. It could be the exact proper recipe for failure. Because I mean, if no one, like if no one's there drinking the water, then maybe either like that water might be poisoned in a way that if you're exploring this idea, it might be a fail. Like it might be an idea that is destined to fail simply because maybe other people have attempted it before
Yeah.
and and there's no market for it, or it's just not a good idea and people don't make it, so they don't really hear about it.
Yeah. How do you try to square the circle around that in your own life? And like the stuff that you create and like where you put your effort? Like, what do you think about the discrepancy between, is this something people actually want, or is this just me doing my own
Me,
thing?
yeah, it is me digressing. Or I guess it's really just about taking that risk. I don't even know if there even is a way to know because I mean we're so I mean we as individuals, like we're very limited in the knowledge we have, the things we know. So it's very hard for us to predict if this
Yeah.
will be a market success, this will be okay. And there's some things that sometimes are not successful when they come out, but then later on become like crazy classics. Like
Yeah.
Casablanca was one.
Facts.
It was a flop when it came out. It's now considered it's like one of the most classic old age Hollywood movies now.
Yeah, no, there's so many movies that they come out, they're a
No,
flop.
the
For
flop.
example, like another flop was Blade Runner 2049, where
Oh
like
my god!
that was a complete box office flop.
But Red Notice was such a cultural.
It's a cultural icon
Yeah,
for
Red Notice.
like any man you ask, or
Yeah,
even like
it's
like on TikTok, it's a
lonely.
meme. Yeah, like it's such a,
Yeah,
now it's a classic, or not even a classic, but like it now it's popular.
it's a very popular, and I feel like a lot of men relate to that loneliness
Yeah,
now, at least nowadays.
it's something real.
Very
It's something
relatable.
honest, but like
Very relatable.
it's kind of crazy where, I mean, here's another thing though, at the same time, like when Henry Ford was building his first model engine and he
Yeah,
looked for feedback, people said, "We don't want this. We want a faster horse."
yeah.
So at the same time, there's this weird kind of relationship where, okay, if you're really building something new or making something new,
No one even knows how to react to this thing yet.
no one even knows that they want it.
Exactly. That's I mean that's the problem. Like I forgot. I think I was watching this somewhere. And someone was saying the biggest problem being creative is that there's a high chance you won't do that well in school, or or like even in college, simply because let's say you're writing an essay, you got an essay prompt, and you as a creative person write something so like different out of box. They don't know what grade to give it.
There's no rubric.
There's no rubric. That's the point. There's no the rubrics exist to try to evaluate standard things. If you're creative, by
Yeah.
definition, you can never exist within that standard.
It's sort of like, are you familiar with the bell curves and like
Mhm.
standard deviations and
Yeah.
stuff? Like you're
It's
like 10 standard deviations
in the
out to the
way.
tail.
Yeah.
That there's no way.
It's so, and the problem is they don't know which side you never know which
Yeah.
side you're on. Like where work, it could be
Yeah.
on this side or that side. There's no really way. But one thing for sure, it's away from the standard. That's really all. That's all you know, and you don't know if it's on the right side, if it's on the wrong side, away from the standard. And that's the problem. There's no way to know. That's why people like create. That's why creative people, artists, and I consider entrepreneurs as artists as well.
I agree.
I think even though they work different, like different, they're working in different avenues,
Different mediums,
it's the same mindset,
same approach, which is
same
like,
approach.
okay,
This,
how can I
just,
be
this,
creative?
yeah,
within
this
the
is just
constraint?
coming to me. This idea is just coming to me, and I want to make it real. Be that a book, be that a company. It's that same kind of ethereal
Yeah.
idea that you're making physical.
No, absolutely. It's manifesting an idea and making it something tangible.
Yeah,
Like that same
exactly.
process is at work, whether you're building Facebook or you're building a book.
Yeah,
right?
it's the same thing. in that way.
Now, a question is it even worth it to think like how will the market react, or is it more valuable to just like make it, get thoughts
Hope.
out, and then just like
Hope.
iterate?
Integrate, yeah.
Yeah.
Just make it the best version of the product you want to make, and just hope that the market likes it.
I think the best version of the product that can exist right now. For example, like
We're considering our technological limitations and all that.
yeah. Or like another one would be, I just finished filming a video for Rev Hacker House,
Yeah.
right? And I made it and I like it and I'm proud of it, but I see how it could be better. There are many aspects in which it could be better.
Oh.
And I can't go back in the past and change the way I filmed it or change the lighting or change the sounds
Wow.
design. I can't go back and change it. But I realize that now
For the future,
I have these lessons,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's also about like realizing the certain, tools that you have at your disposal and trying to make the best of it.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, being biased towards just like getting it out, getting feedback from people, getting ideas, and then kind of polishing the stone from there on.
Yeah.
But it's a tough process, and it's a very lonely process to make something that other people can't really understand yet.
Yeah.
Because in order for them to understand it, you need to make it first.
You need to finish it. They can't understand it in its entirety. And like for example, like and that's the thing. Like there's something that were instant classics. The Godfather, instant classic, and like you said, like 2049 Blade Runner. That wasn't an instant like, oh my god, it took a while.
Yeah.
Like there's many artists that never even get recognized in their entire lifetime.
Dude, fucking Van Gogh,
Yeah.
until he died, he was basically no one gave a shit.
There's many artists died before like that.
Paul Gauguin, he basically left his family. He had like a family. He was like 48.
Yeah.
He had a family and kids, everything. He left his family, went to go live in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Right. This is like the 1800s, right? 1800s, maybe early 1900s. Ended up like, and all he ended up doing was basically just like painting these weird like abstract paintings or cubist paintings, like the woman he used to see. And he ended up marrying like a 14-year-old or something when he was in this Caribbean. Like he just went and like left everything and did everything.
The reservation type stuff.
Yeah. And now we look at his art and we're like, oh my God, his art's incredible. Like, how could we not recognize this? How can no one respect him?
Yeah.
But like, he had a crazy life, weird ass life, and like did his own thing and this and that.
Exactly. And like like I remember I think I heard a podcast somewhere. They're like, how do you know if you're the same question? Like, how do you know if you're a good artist, you're making good art? And their response was, if people still love it after 200 years. And they laugh because then you'll never
know.
The point is that you'll never know. Because there's no way of knowing. Like you won't be here, or you won't even be here to see how good your art really was. Because how good art is not just defined by the art, also the impact it has.
And sometimes really good art doesn't come from the intention of creating good art. For example, like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is like one of the most beloved books for philosophy or like mindset or self-help.
People are talking about it after all these centuries still.
After basically almost 2,000 years,
1,000 years.
almost 2,000 years, the book has been around. Dude, Marcus Aurelius was writing it as a journal.
Yeah,
He had no intention
of publishing or anything.
He would be probably mortified.
Yeah, if they were reading it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you can't know. I guess maybe this is the point we're trying to get at, which is like you can't know something is good until it's out,
Yeah.
until it's just out in the world,
And
and then after time as well.
a lot of time, and then if your art stands that test of time, then that way even if you might not. So I guess so that's what art is. So almost in a way, art is like trying to build a society or a civilization.
Yeah.
It's like you won't really know how it'll turn out,
Ooh,
but you still got to put everything in it.
that's really good.
It's like that line. What's that line? On society will improve when old men plant trees, for whose shade they'll never see. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the line. I guess if you should treat art the same way.
You just create it.
You create the best possible thing you can create. It just throw it out there, and after that, you just like understand that like I might not even see the fruits of this,
It's sort of out of your control.
but someone will. This is like this art. If I make something good enough, it'll help someone.
For example, like when you had that record, right? That you brought in the record and you
Yeah,
were
right.
writing the poems and the stories and this and that.
That guy didn't know.
And dude, like that, whoever produced that record, like they did not think anyone would ever probably listen to it very much or this or that. And if they did think it would probably be like their, their grandson or their great grandparent. But no, it's just some random kid who found the record where it's like, I'm gonna make it. Like we don't know the effects of what we're gonna create
at all.
Right? And there's a sort of beauty to that where it's like out of our control, the butterfly effect, right?
And it's kind of like you're leaving your mark on this world. Like, like this, if you create something good enough and if it's good enough, it's powerful enough, and then you have no idea what happened after that.
I think there's sort of a moral obligation to create. If you
have that,
and I'm not saying that you have to be the type of person who is an artiste or a creative, because I think we're all capable of that.
Yeah.
I really do think so. Some of us maybe have it to varying degrees. Some of us cultivate it more than others, but I think we all are capable of creating something that affects other people. A fact of that would just be the fact that we have friendships and relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I think there's sort of a duty to create where like I try to push my friends to create content as soon as they say like, "Oh, I'm thinking about creating content." I'm like, "Just do it. Like, please just go ahead and do it because you will not regret it."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like I could show them the door, but they have to turn the knob.
Yeah, okay. It doesn't matter how much you tell someone to do something, it has to come with it. They have to want to do it themselves. Even then, if they want to do it themselves, even then it's still hard.
Yeah.
Like that's how hard it is to be creating.
I mean, I imagine in your little circle of friends or your group of people, like you're kind of known as like the creator or the artist or the writer or this or that.
I love writing, yeah.
So that's sort of, it's a big identity of yours, right? People know you as that and they recognize you. So have you ever had someone come up to you and been like, "Oh, I want to, start painting or making music or writing or this or that." And what do you sort of tell them if they ask for advice or if they
because I haven't had that exact experience, but there is a group of like people I'm friends with, and I was talking to them about, I started this Instagram account where I write and post my poetry. I was talking to her. She said, "Wow, that's really cool that you have a passion." I said, "Well, you can have one too." And then she was like, "Well, I don't know. I never give myself time for that." I said, "Why don't you? You have to." I told her like this spring break, the one we had recently. I told her to spend that time because we'll be back home. Try to spend all that free time trying to find a passion because you have interests, but those interests, none of them have become you haven't watered any of them yet for them to grow into passions. Yet. You gotta water it.
Yeah, I also think a lot of times I thought about this. I heard this the other day and I really liked it. People say they need to be passionate about something to start.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes passion develops
over
as a byproduct of starting.
Exactly.
Right? Like the first time I ever like took a pencil to paper, or the first time I ever picked up a camera, or I played a piece, like I didn't know I was passionate about music until I started listening and playing music myself.
Exactly. There you go.
You don't know what you don't know.
I think that kind of it's a very it's a wrong view of passion. It's like that wrong. It's like that view of love. I think many
Yeah.
Americans have, and many people have in general because of rom-com. They believe in like this. You see someone for the first time and just fall in love. I don't think that's how it works. I think you're interested in people, and then that can develop into love. I think it's
Yeah.
not something that just it doesn't just fall from the sky.
Yeah, yeah. Love doesn't just hit you in the face and then suddenly you're like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god, I'm in love."
exactly. Like
No, it
it's something
develops.
that
Why that retrospect, like, oh, it just fell out of the sky.
yeah, it just happened. But in reality, it's just
Just step by step.
it was a very it was a very it was a meticulous step by step process where you put time and effort into something and it grew into love. And that's the same thing with a passion or an interest.
Yeah.
If you ask a very passionate person right now, then maybe like they'll say the same thing, like, I don't know, it just kind of happened and I just became passionate about it. But like, because they aren't they because many artists themselves aren't even self conscious about why they do what they do. They just are like they're kind of driven internally.
It
It's not externally driven.
it happens on a whim,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's just,
I've had people ask me like, "Oh, like, how'd you start, like, creating content or, like, writing stuff or, like, making videos
yeah.
or whatever?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I would like to tell you that there was some grand like, ever since I was a 3-year-old, I knew
Some
I wanted to
magic.
be a filmmaker and
I
I
wish I had
wanted
like
and
a crazy backstory or
but, like,
something.
I don't. I just am like, "This is something I like, and it makes me feel good, so I'm gonna continue it."
That's
And,
really
like
it.
I think some people try to keep it like
Yeah.
sometimes maybe it's just like you like it and then you try to like it could be as simple as that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just the same way you can just simply not like something. It's the same way. Like if there are other factors internally that decide that, you don't even. It's not in your control. You don't even know why. You're like, yeah, I like it. That's it. There's nothing.
I think that's a pure emotion.
Yeah.
You just can't describe why you like something.
No, it's because
An ineffable quality to it where
yeah,
it's like, I don't know really I don't have the words to describe how much I like this.
it just like it. I like it a lot. I don't
Yeah. So I guess
know.
to kind of wrap it up and
Yeah,
conclude, just start making shit. You won't know if it's good until you just put it out in the world.
and even
And
then,
even then,
you might. That's the point. It's you. If you just have to throw it out there, even in your own lifetime, even in your children's or great, maybe they will never see it in the lifetime. It's like what's that thing? Like quote Kanye said when they asked him what would be your greatest desire to be forgotten.
mm,
And it's that because, like, let's say the inventor of like the stoplight or like the sidewalk, these things are so ubiquitous, we don't even think about it anymore. We don't even think about who invented them.
mm,
That's how culturally ingrained he wants to become, where he's just forgotten.
he's become part of it.
And
That hurt.
it's not just Kanye, is that his music has influenced music so much that it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like good art, if you just create it, you there's a high chance you won't even see the fruits of it. It'll just be
Well,
out there.
well,
Forgotten.
okay. It's sort of like in a way when you become forgotten, you become part of like and you become part of the culture, part
fabric.
of the fabric of the world, you become the divine.
That's it. You just kind
It's
of
because the divine is with any the divine is within this plastic plant and this water bottle and the three humans here and that fair life core power. It's the
yeah.
God is within everything, right? So if you could become part of everything, then therefore you become God,
You become
right?
part of God.
And not necessarily in this like egotistical, like, oh, I am God, but rather you become reunited with that thing that you once searched for so long.
And maybe that's what that like many religions preach to practice. By becoming by practicing all
Yeah.
these virtues, by doing good so much and by having such a positive impact, like your impact becomes so far spread that it's forgotten.
This is why people want their ashes to be spread in the river, right, or in
And
the sea.
they want to be seeped into the world, back into society. And and maybe that's what you should aim for in a way, to become so important that you're forgotten.
Mm.
And yeah, it's like the ultimate death of you ultimately
It's
like
the ultimate death and the ultimate, like
yeah, it's like ego death. It's like it's like you are literally striving for ego death by doing that. You're
uh,
striving towards that. It's the most it's the most humble way to be great, maybe.
it's transcending the self,
Yeah,
becoming more than this.
you don't even care about being great. It's just it's not even a concept. You train you want to be forgotten, but in that kind of way, in a way that you follow these virtues. But there are other ways to be forgotten too, like just by doing jack shit. That you're also forgotten then too, but
Become so great that you become forgotten.
yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Alright.
thank you, bro.
Yeah. Yes.